Hello, I'm Tony Mitra, this 4th of July 2020, and I'm going to talk about my perception of what's going on around the world as of today with regard to the backdrop of COVID-19. Why all this is happening, those who know that this is nothing to do with saving us from a flu virus, but something much deeper, have and that we are losing our freedom and we are losing our way of life without our say, without our choice, and that most of us are no more living under a self-governed nation, but becoming part of a global kind of dictatorship of a faceless group of people in power. So the reason some of them believe is that there is an impending doom and there's a plan to destroy the existing system and human civilization and rapidly bring it down to a low population and a different kind of organization that runs humankind, human society. No more too much freedom, no more much freedom at all, and to live by diktat of the faceless controlling groups. This is one reason. The other reason that I want to talk about is this belief by some that it all hinges on the re-election of Trump, or his winning or losing the re-election in November, and that the cabal is so upset with him, that this faceless group trying to take control of the entire planet is so upset with him that removing him becomes absolute necessity, legally, illegally, honestly, dishonestly, by election, by elimination, whatever. It becomes absolutely necessary, and once he is gone, if he is gone, then things will more or less go back to normal. All you need to do is get rid of Trump, and then yes, you'll lose much of your freedom. You will realize that Canada doesn't control its destiny anymore. But as long as you're willing to toe the line and say yes sir, no sir, every time they say jump, you jump, then more or less with less opportunity and less freedom and much lower standard of living and mode of existence, but you will be allowed to more or less continue living. This is the second reason that some of us thinking people believe. I personally believe the first one. I can understand the reason behind the second one. I'll come to that in a moment. But I believe the first one because I see evidence with my own eyes. I don't always trust mainstream media. In fact, I stopped trusting it 25 years ago, almost 30 years ago, because of the rubbish that comes up from there. But let's say in general, I believe the first one because the economy has been crippled, and not just USA, but the world over, irreversibly, and it cannot be brought back to normal. It cannot, and that was not accidental. It was not that it got crippled by chance and it was not planned. Because if it was by chance, it would have been reversed. It would have been stopped from further degradation, and some effort would be made to recover or to undo the damage. But there's been no such sign. It's only continuing, and even in different forms. So I think that this is planned. The second reason is not just economy, psychological. The damage that is being done to the human psychology will take a long term to come back to normal, if it ever comes back to normal, because I don't think we are going to have normalcy back. So that damage, psychological damage, is probably intended to be permanent. And the third is that our food source is being systematically reduced. Our reserve food is being destroyed. Our meat supply is being culled. our cattle ranchers and all in Canada. I don't mean some third world country or faraway country where we don't have first-hand information. I'm talking about what's happening right around us in Canada, in many provinces, including British Columbia. The livestock are being culled because they can't sell the livestock. The demand has fallen, restaurants are closed, everybody's tightening their belt and so on, whatever the reason. And instead of holding on to their cattle till such time things improve, they are being asked to cull it. And since they're not allowed to just shoot the animals and bury them or burn them, they have to dispose or have them destroyed officially, legally, through legal channels, and those channels and systems are overloaded. So therefore, they have to be kept in a holding pen where they're fed and watered, these animals, till their time comes, their quota comes, and they can be destroyed. And during this time, the cattle owners have to pay for their upkeep. In other words, farmers have to pay to have their property destroyed. This is happening right now in Canada, and not just in one province, this is everywhere. So all these little things, I find it hard to believe. You see, I have a thinking brain. When somebody announces something like, government or World Health Organization, whatever, I try to see whether what they announce and what I see around myself, by common observation, it's not so difficult to observe if you really want to, whether they tally. And if they do not tally, then I try to think what is going on. And that's made me occupied for the last 4 months. What is going on is definitely not what is being told by the official media. So I personally find it hard to believe that it is not a plan to destroy large part of human civilization, including large part of the population, through starvation, without firing a shot, without appearing to be an enemy anywhere, to firing a shot. If meat has disappeared, it has not disappeared because somebody from outside came and bombed our farms. No, we killed them ourselves. And if industry got destroyed, we did it ourselves. And therefore, COVID, what to do? COVID, that's why we are all dead. What to do? I mean, can't do anything else. After all, it's influenza and it's dangerous. So, even if 10% people survive or 50% people survive, that's the only thing that was possible to do. So this is what people are expected to believe. I don't believe it, but this is what is the plan. And therefore, I have difficulty in believing that anything else is the plan. But then I can understand the Donald Trump clause. I have understood very clearly that it has nothing, the degree of hostility towards Donald Trump by all media, all academia, all industry, all channels, all political system is not by chance, and it is not because of Donald Trump's idiosyncrasies or what he says or what he does and all that. No, it has to be way more important than an individual characteristics. Every president has good points and bad points. Every human has good points and bad points, and there are lots of politicians who are absolute crooks. But what is happening to Donald Trump is something else. And I suspect, and many people do, that he does not play ball with this cabal, this new world order, and that's why he must be destroyed. And I can understand, in fact, I came up with the theory without being told actually. In fact, many people do believe it, I found out. But I came up with this idea that why Donald Trump and not somebody else is so important to the cabal, to the new world order. Why not, the leader of Brazil or France or Germany or somewhere else, or even Canada for that matter? Why they are not so important and why the US president is important is because the new world order that has almost every instrument in their control for taking over the planet, except one. They don't have the military power, the teeth, to control the planet and to subdue any recalcitrant nation that wants to break away from this oncoming slavery and loss of freedom and so on. And for that reason, The US military, with all its bases around the world and the infrastructure put in place and the weaponry everywhere, including up in space, it is absolutely necessary to have the US military backing up this system. And while you can argue whether the US president actually controls everything or it's out of his control and has been out of his control for a long time, whether you agree or disagree, you can debate about it, but it sure is a serious inconvenience if the president of the US is not playing ball and not in line. And President Trump has not come up through the system. If anybody else could be the president who has come up through a lifetime of political system, he has been groomed. It doesn't matter whether he is Republican, Democrat, white, black, yellow, polka dotted, whatever. They have been groomed to play ball, but this guy has not been groomed. He doesn't like to be ordered around. He refuses to play ball, and he's unpredictable. So therefore, he must go. Legally, illegally, as I said, honestly, dishonestly, by election or by by assassination, whatever means, he must go. And therefore, there are people who believe that all this COVID-19, all that was only invented to dethrone Trump, and once he is gone, if he is gone, that's it, we'll come back to normal. At a different level of freedom, much reduced and much more slavery and all that, but otherwise we'll have more or less a comparable lifestyle, if not the same. While I agree that removing Trump has become obviously very important for the new world order, you got to be brain dead not to see it, but that it is the only objective, I personally find it hard to believe. That the entire world's economy and social social foundation, as well as food source, everything had to be destroyed just to remove Trump and Trump only, I personally have a problem believing. There are a few other things I would have liked to touch, that like Beirut in Lebanon up in flames, or the stage 4 lockdown happening in Melbourne. What is happening in Melbourne is unbelievable. It's like Soviet days, even worse than Soviet days. And it's coming everywhere, first of all to the Commonwealth countries, English speaking, like Canada and USA and UK and all that. But what's happening in Australia is worth watching, and it's unbelievable that it's happening in Australia, where people, 1 out of 1,000 even not dying with COVID, and COVID being used to literally enslave cities. So this is worth talking. I will try to get someone online later on who lives in Australia, preferably in Melbourne, and who is not afraid to talk. So that is probably I will try to do. I'll try to get someone close to Lebanon to find out what's going on there. But all that is in future. And also tomorrow I'm going to be having a talk with Leszek, or Les as we call him. He's a Polish-born, very smart man. I admire his way of thinking. He's a very clear thinker, very articulate. He's a Canadian. I met him in Canada, protesting against the loss of freedom and all that. But now he's visiting for a long time in Poland, and he's watching what's going on from the European perspective, a non-English speaking European perspective, and also what's going on in Berlin and in Germany, which seems to be another interesting point. I'll try to get some Germans to talk with me on record about this. I have 1 or 2 persons. I'm looking for more, especially those that live in Berlin, because there's these two sides of a coin. On one side, the official, the political Germany, which is so involved in controlling EU and moving it forward in step with the New World Order and COVID and lockdown and all that. And on the other side, the public, they are so far ahead of Canada and USA, so far ahead in protesting everything that is happening. And 1 million people on the street is unbelievable what is going on. And it's not, of course, coming in news media here. So I'm trying to get to the bottom of what's going on in Germany. Germany seems to be another key player as of now in this, and like I said, there's a conflict, and it has both sides of the argument issue there, the supporters and the protesters. supporters among the political class, protesters among the people. And 1 million, I mean, if that kind of a number came out on the streets in Canada, Canadian government will, literally wet their pants immediately and turn around. But Germany is a country of 80 plus million population. Canada is only 37 million. So so all that is there. And Canada is very, very big. And the population density is way low. I mean, getting 1 million people is almost impossible. What 1 million people in Berlin mean is equivalent to probably 20, 30,000 or 50,000 people in Canadian cities, or 100,000 people at the most in Canadian cities. Even that is almost unbelievable. You can't imagine more than 300 people, or in Canada there were a couple of thousand people in front of the parliament. I was one of them in Ottawa, but that was just once, and it was it was ignored by people because a couple of thousand and against 1 million, it's a different ball game, So those things are in the pipeline. I'm trying to get real people. I know some Germans, and I will be talking to them again. But I'm looking for somebody in Melbourne, somebody in Berlin, somebody in Beirut, and also in other third world countries. I know some interesting things are going on in India. I will be covering those things later on to directly people who are willing to talk, and preferably in English. India has a lot of regions with a lot of vernacular languages which others cannot follow too much, and people who are willing to actually connected at the grassroots level. I have one or two good friends in Punjab, and some good friends in Bengal, and some other good friends in south of India and west of India, but I'm trying to get more from the real activists. So anyway, all that is in the pipelines. I'm going to talk to Les, who is now in Poland, to give his perspective. And as I said, I like his way of talking. He's slow and measured and articulate, and also I like the way his mind works. So hopefully tomorrow, 1 o'clock Pacific time, that's 1 o'clock Vancouver time, 5th of July, 1 p.m. Vancouver time, which will be 4 o'clock or so in the east coast of North America, and evening time in Europe, 8 or 9, or even later in India and other Asian countries. I shall be talking with Les tomorrow. And I'm also trying to hook up with somebody in South Africa, Cape Town area, and I will be going on Zoom to get his perspective. He also has interesting things to say about the lockdown and what's happening in South Africa, for instance, and also in future from other places. So that's it for now. I think covered much too much, and that's it. Goodbye. And I will not be going live. I'm done with live videos. It has many disadvantages, and I don't have time to go into it right now. So these all will be recorded and edited and put up. And I'm moving away from Facebook and YouTube because they censor opinions relating to COVID. Otherwise, they give you free rein to other things. But the most important item, COVID, they are censoring and allowing one-sided view only. So I'm moving away. So these videos might appear there later on. Initially, it would appear on other platforms. And then I will be preserving them in my computer as well. So that's it for now. Ciao and goodbye.